To the Wellesley College Choir, thank you. What a great and delightful way to start this very special ceremony. President Johnson, distinguished alumni, students, faculty, staff, and guests. Good afternoon, and welcome. I'm Stephanie C., class of 1989. And I'm president of the Wellesley College Alumni Association. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 55th Alumni Achievement Awards ceremony. I will begin by reading the Wellesley College land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Wellesley College is built on ancestral and traditional land of the Massachusetts people. We also recognize that the United States removal, termination, and assimilation policies and practices resulted in the forced settlement of indigenous lands and the attempted erasure of indigenous cultures and languages. We further acknowledge the oppression, injustices, and discrimination that indigenous people have endured, and that there is much work to be done on the important journey to reconciliation. We commit to strengthen our understanding of the history and contemporary lives of indigenous peoples and to steward this land. We further recognize that many indigenous people living here today, including the Massachusetts, Wampanoag, and Nipmuc nations, who have rich ancestral histories in Wellesley and its surrounding communities. Today, their descendants remind us that they are still here, where they maintain a vital and visible presence. We honor and respect the enduring relationship between these peoples and this land, as well as the strength of indigenous culture and knowledge, the continued existence of tribal sovereignty, and the principle of tribal self-determination. My eyes are of that age. The Alumni Achievement Award was established by the Alumni Association to recognize the outstanding accomplishments of Wellesley graduates, and the award remains the highest honor that Wellesley bestows. Over the last 55 years, this award has been earned by scientists, artists, entrepreneurs, judges, and journalists. We've recognized doctors, advocates, business leaders, and educators, historians, authors, and astronauts. Past recipients not only represent an extensive range of fields, they also come from class years that span from 1909 to 1994. Many of the awardees face challenges that pave the way for the Wellesley graduates who followed them, as well as the students of today. We've heard from awardees who, during their time at Wellesley, could not have imagined the accomplishments that were in their future. We are honored to have past Alumni Achievement Award recipients with us tonight. If you would please stand and be recognized as I call your name. Jean Kilborn, class of 1964, recipient in 2015. Diane Rowland, class of 1970, recipient in 2019. Joan Wallace Benjamin, class of 1975. If I've missed other past recipients, please stand so we can recognize you. Okay. You all remain an inspiration, and we are honored to have you with us tonight. So, the oak tree is an integral part of the Wellesley College tradition. The oak leaf pin that is presented to each Alumni Achievement Award recipient symbolizes the strength, quality, and durability of the college and our alumni. The acorn, also represented on the pin, reminds us of our own potential to turn our time at Wellesley into a life of purpose, meaning, and positive impact. More than 166 alumni have received the esteemed pin and the distinction of being an Alumni Achievement Awardee, and this evening, we are thrilled to add 3 more remarkable women to that list. As you can imagine, it takes an enormous amount of time and effort to select the recipients of this award. This important work is carried out by two committees, the Alumni Achievement Award Nominating Committee and the Alumni Achievement Award Selection Committee. The committees are charged with the daunting task of identifying and selecting from among Wellesley's remarkable alumni body a few individuals who have brought particular honor to themselves and to the college through demonstrated excellence in their chosen fields. Committee members meet throughout the year, carefully reading hundreds of pages of information about the nominees' work and professional achievements. And we extend our heartfelt thanks to these committee members for their dedication and care throughout the nomination and selection process, both those who chose tonight's honorees and those who will carry on this important work. I will introduce the committee members, and I ask that you hold your applause until I finish reading the names. And committee members, please stand as I call your name. Selection committee members with us tonight: Angeles Garcia Casson, class of 2009, and committee chair. Martha Cohen Barrett, class of 1989. Ashley Harmon, Davis Scholar, class of 2011. Nicole Santiago, class of 2011. Grace Toe, class of 1983. Cheryl Whaley, class of 1987, and former committee chair. And the nominating committee members with us tonight: Pierre Rogers, class of 1975 and former committee chair. Lisa Scanlon-Mogoloff, class of 1999 and the editor of the Wellesley Magazine. Shannon O'Brien, Wellesley College staff. And not able to be with us tonight from the committees are Emmett Jeanette, class of 2015, Karen Jordan, class of 1991, Elizabeth Miner, class of 2003, Sydney Stewart, class of 2018, and Desiree Urquhart, Davis Scholar, class of 1999. Please join me in thanking these very dedicated volunteers for their service to the Alumni Association and the college. Also in the audience, we are joined by the Alumni Association Board. Would the members of the board please stand so we can recognize you? I am so honored to work with this amazing group of volunteer leaders. We are also joined by several current and former members of the college's Board of Trustees and past Alumni Association board members. Could you all please stand as well so we can recognize you? Thank you to all our volunteer leaders for their work and devotion to Wellesley. And now, to help me present tonight's awards, we are honored to have the 14th President of Wellesley College join us, President Paula Johnson. Paula.
Thank you so much, Steph, and thank you to the selection committee and to the nominating committee. Steph, I really want to echo your sentiments. It is truly a joy to have past award recipients here to take part in this celebration of alumni excellence, and for our previous honorees to welcome fellow alumni into your prestigious company. It is also such a pleasure to be able to celebrate our alumni during Friends and Family Weekend, when the campus is truly bursting with life. As Steph remarked, for more than a half a century, the Alumni Association has recognized the outstanding alumni who have brought particular honor to themselves, to Wellesley, and to their chosen field. Each year, it's a special privilege for me to help bestow this highest honor, and each year we are inspired by the astounding talent, drive, and remarkable accomplishments of the Achievement Award winners. With careers and pursuits that span arenas, industries, and disciplines, each of the many recipients of this award over time embody what we seek to instill in a Wellesley education: the transformative power of curiosity, the discovery of new ideas and practices through rigorous inquiry and critical thinking, and the capacity to connect across difference and work with others to make the world a more just and equitable place. This is a gift of a Wellesley education and a testament to the power of a liberal arts education. Many past recipients of this award are true originals who have spent their lives in service of the greater good, and leaders who have overcome challenges and showed the way forward with determination and vision. For our students, year after year, our honorees pave the way for others and serve as shining examples of all that a Wellesley graduate can imagine, create, and achieve. So often our alumni become the first at what they do. Theirs are the stories of doors opened and kept open, of ladders lent to others so they can climb higher still. And at Wellesley, first lead to next. And this award reminds us that our students are indeed a community of next, with mighty talents of their own, but inspired by those who came before them. Alumni who inspire them to explore, gain confidence, and move towards making a difference in the world. This is why we are honoring these extraordinary women, as well as a legacy of leadership, mentorship, and service that stretches across decades. We'll soon present each of the Alumni Achievement Awards, but I want to take a moment to turn it back over to Steph, who will introduce the Wellesley College Choir. And before I do that, I do just want to say one thing. Of course, I'm going to go off script. But for those of you who don't spend a lot of time here at Wellesley, as you go down to the reception, take some time to walk through this hallway and the hallway downstairs. I really call it our walls of inspiration. And I know that as president of this college, there are times when I just come to quietly look and appreciate and pay tribute to all of those who have come before, who have paved the way to make it possible for today. So with that, Steph.
Thank you, President Johnson. And thank you for your outstanding stewardship and leadership of Wellesley College. In just a moment, we'll present the 2024 Alumni Achievement Awards, but first, the Wellesley College Choir will perform Song of Hope by Howard Goodall. The choir is conducted by Lisa Graham, the Evelyn Berry Director of Choral Music and Lecturer in Music here at Wellesley.
I do not know you, but I have seen your face. You may be distant, but your voice still carries. I'm your descendant, though we have never met.
Thank you. It's now my privilege and great pleasure to introduce to you the recipients of the 2024 Alumni Achievement Award. Claire Parkinson, class of 1970. Claire is a pioneering climatologist who has advanced the world's understanding of the climate crisis through her study of polar ice. Alongside her role as a leading researcher at NASA, she authored an influential book about the Earth's climate that outlines why we must be smart about finding solutions, and she has been a champion for women in science. Claire's passion for science and its role in understanding the broader world began at Wellesley. This passion has led her on a lifelong pursuit to help the public better understand what's happening with the Earth's climate and how to find solutions that will work. Having spent more than 4 decades working at NASA's Goddard Space Center, she's become one of the world's leading climatologists. Her 2012 book, Coming Climate Crisis: Consider the Past, Beware the Big Fix, aimed to persuade the public and policymakers away from drastic geoengineering efforts and instead to change things that planetary hacking will not be needed at all, according to the New York Times Review. Claire's work has been in the vanguard of research showing that measuring polar ice was essential to understanding the Earth's climate and ecosystem. When Claire first joined NASA, scientists were just starting to use data from orbiting satellites to observe Earth and its climate. Claire and her colleagues analyzed that early data for information about sea ice in order to develop atlases of the ice's coverage, work that led to what is now a cornerstone of climate science. As the satellite era evolved out of its infancy and data improved, she and her colleagues showed that after decades of gradual increases and fluctuations, Antarctic sea ice had begun to decrease. She was lead author of an important paper in 1999 showing the decreases in Arctic spanning the late 1970s to the late 1990s. This work would be yet another consequential contribution to her field, findings that went on to shape the public's fundamental understanding of climate science and climate change. In 2020, Claire was awarded NASA's Distinguished Service Medal, its highest recognition for outstanding research on global sea ice cover and climate change, as well as for serving as project scientist on a satellite mission that transmits ocean, land, ice, and atmospheric data that's used widely by scientists around the world. Claire has also been an inspiring role model for women in STEM fields and a voice for their advancement, amplifying how they've made an impact. In 2004, she became the first female recipient of the Richard P. Goldwaith Polar Medal from the Byrd Polar Research Center at Ohio State University for her outstanding contributions to polar research. In 2011, Claire led a, quote, Women of Goddard, end quote, outreach effort at NASA that resulted in the book, Women of Goddard, Careers in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. Claire, Paula, would you please join me at the podium? Claire, through your expertise and passion, your early interventions in climate science, and your efforts to bring more women into the field, you have helped address one of our time's most existential global threats. For this, Wellesley honors you.
Thank you so very much for those extremely kind comments. It is an incredible honor for me to be able to receive one of these awards. I'm thrilled with this and extremely honored, so thank you very much. I've been asked to say something about how Wellesley impacted my career. This is a little tricky because I majored in math at Wellesley. That was overwhelmingly my intellectual passion. But it was the time of the Civil Rights Movement and the Vietnam War. And by the time I graduated from Wellesley, I realized I couldn't go into theoretical math as a career because I felt it would isolate me too much from the real world concerns, which were extremely concerning to me. So I ended up in a career in polar science, satellite observations, and climate change, never having taken a single course at Wellesley and any of those topics. So this becomes difficult. However, even for an alumni like me who didn't take courses that were directly related to what they ended up in, Wellesley education means a huge amount. And I'm going to mention 4 ways in which my Wellesley experience influenced me in very deeply. First, it gave me a liberal arts education. If you're going to pivot in your career, it is really wise to have a liberal arts education. Second, it taught me to go beyond what has already been done. I went to a very good high school in central Vermont. It gave me an excellent high school education, public high school, but it was entirely focused on learning what's in the textbooks and what the teachers present in the class. When I got to Wellesley, every course I took, by the time I was out of that course, I was expected to be able to go beyond what's in the textbook and what the teachers presented. I ended up a scientist. A scientist fundamentally is meant to go beyond what's already been done. And it was at Wellesley that that mindset was instilled in terms of going beyond. Number 3, the Wellesley motto, not to be ministered unto, but to minister, which I loosely interpret as a call to be of service. That has been fundamental to me throughout my adult life. When I graduated, I wanted to go into the Peace Corps, but I got rejected. And I got rejected by several other places that I applied to also. I got very discouraged. How can I be of service if nobody wants my service? So this was difficult for me at the time, but then I went to graduate school and I ended up in 1978 getting a job at NASA, and everything changed. NASA not only gave me the incredible opportunity of doing scientific research at an institution that has done just incredibly amazing things, but it also gave me an unending stream of service opportunities, from staffing NASA exhibits to speaking in schools and colleges and to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and park rangers and all sorts of people, to mentoring younger scientists, once even to spending 6 weeks in hurricane recovery efforts. And most important, most time-consuming of all, was this role of the Aqua project scientist. As was mentioned, the Aqua satellite measures all sorts of aspects of the Earth system, and the project scientist role is essentially a service role. And it was not an easy job, and it took huge amounts of time away from my own research, but I didn't have to accept that role, but I did, and it was partly the Wellesley motto and the realization that that role was enabling me to be of service to the thousands of scientists who use the data and the millions of people who benefit from the Aqua data. So that's number 3. Number 4 concerns diversity. I grew up in communities that were basically white, Christian, middle class, heterosexual. I get to Wellesley and suddenly I'm in the midst of extremely intelligent women, young women, many of whom had life experiences that were very different from mine, with very different perspectives. And I grew to understand the importance of listening deeply to other perspectives on things. And this has also been extremely important to me throughout my adult life, and in particular in my career as a climate scientist, where there's so much contention these days, and yet I find that I'm able to talk civilly with anybody, even those who do not share my concerns about climate change and human impacts on the environment. I feel that if everybody had the kind of experience that I had at Wellesley, we would be much further along in solving the climate crisis, and I feel we would be much further along in terms of politics as well as the climate. So those are the 4 ways in which Wellesley hugely impacted the rest of my life. And I know that Wellesley aims to educate women who will make a difference in the world. And I'm quite aware that there's no way I'm making the magnitude of a difference of some Wellesley alumni like Madeleine Albright or Hillary Clinton. But I have tried hard to make a positive difference, however relatively minor it might be. And I am just incredibly thrilled that the Wellesley College Alumni Association would consider my contributions to be worthy of a Wellesley College Alumni Achievement Award. So thank you to the Alumni Association, thank you to the nominating committee, thank you to the selection committee, thank you to anyone involved in the process, and it's really incredibly meaningful to me, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Claire. I almost felt like she was sitting in our trustee meetings in the last couple of days. Joanne Berger Sweeney, class of 1979, is an accomplished neuroscientist and a transformational leader in higher education. For the past decade, she has served as president of Trinity College in Connecticut, the first woman and first African American to do so. Early in her career, she was a member of the Wellesley faculty, becoming the college's first female African American who rose through the ranks to full professor. She served Wellesley for nearly 20 years as chair of the neuroscience department and as associate dean before becoming dean of the School of Arts and Sciences at Tufts. As a scientist, Joanne worked on a drug that is still widely used to treat Alzheimer's, has authored more than 60 papers, and holds several patents. She has received several awards for her scientific work, leadership, and mentoring, including the Lifetime Mentoring Award from the Society of Neuroscience for Neuroscience and a National Science Foundation Young Investigator Award. She is a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and the International Behavioral Neuroscience Society. Joanne has credited her undergraduate experience at Wellesley for making her the first one to notice things in a room, like how few women taught at other universities. Throughout her career, she has not simply been one to call for change, but one to act. She brought this drive with her to the presidency at Trinity. Of the task forces she created as president, the first one was on the prevention of sexual misconduct, its mandate to ensure the college was responding equitably and promptly to all reports of misconduct and fostering a safer environment for all of its students. She also went on to work gathering data, and when she quickly determined that Trinity had the fewest number of women full professors of all their peers, she knew they could do better. Now Trinity's gender ratio is equal. Through Joanne's leadership, Trinity also greatly increased the number of tenure-track faculty of color, and it's increased financial aid for its student by 50% during her tenure. She also oversaw Trinity's ambitious strategic plan, which created a mentoring program for first-year students and reimagined the school's liberal arts program for the 21st century. Retention rates increased during her tenure, and post-graduation career outcomes improved for Trinity graduates. Her Wellesley experience, once again, was formative, giving her a sense of confidence at just the right moment. Joanne and Paula, could you please join me at the podium? Joanne, for your life's work as a trailblazer in two worlds, as a researcher seeking cures and a leader dedicated to improving the lives of students, and for being a powerful force for change through your determination to turn vision into progress and your desire for greater equity and opportunity, Wellesley honors you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful recognition. I'm deeply honored to receive this award alongside such accomplished alumni as Claire Parkinson and Amy Weaver. And I'm proud to be here with my family, Ors Clara Thomas, and among friends. As president of Trinity College, I know well how rigorous the process of selecting alumni recipients for awards must be. So thank you for this honor from the bottom of my heart. When I think of the 50-year relationship I have had with Wellesley, the ties run deep. It began in 1974 when I was an eager 16-year-old undergraduate from Los Angeles. But it continued through multiple roles here as a faculty member in the biology department, as the co-director of the neuroscience program, as an associate dean, and yes, as a parent. My daughter graduated in 2019 and is also a yellow class. My love for Wellesley spanned a significant majority of my adult life. And take my word for it, students, 50 years goes faster than you think. I remember my first day at Wellesley so clearly. I was the youngest in the family with two big brothers who stayed in Los Angeles for their college careers. Besides an exchange trip to Malaysia, I had not traveled extensively, and I had never seen Wellesley's campus before my first day. It was so beautiful. The trees, Gothic architecture, and of course, Lake Waban. As tradition went, we drove up to the quad to drop off my belongings at Pomeroy. I was greeted by Jennifer Jensen, class of '78, who was a sophomore Ask Me. She greeted me by name. "Welcome, Joanne from LA. It's nice to have you here." The sophomore Ask Me's had memorized people's pictures and where they were from. And it made this 16-year-old feel right at home. Now, my first semester was a hard one. Within 6 weeks of my arrival on campus, my loving mother very suddenly died of an aneurysm at the age of 46. It was tough flying back across country so soon. Yet I remember how supportive the Wellesley community was when I returned to Massachusetts. Professors were so understanding. Classmates offered to lend me notes and checked on me every once in a while. My roommate Dory invited me home to New York for Thanksgiving. Even though my mother's death was a life-altering loss, I was so happy to come back to campus, to focus on my studies, and to think about the future. This quickly became my new home, so much so that my brothers nicknamed the college Mother Wellesley. There were many gifts that Wellesley gave me. The first, a sense of belonging. The community supported me through hard times and my weak preparation from an inner city public high school. I was so fortunate to belong to a community that helped me find my footing. The second gift was a lifelong love of learning and a lens through which to apply principles of equity. When I think about my mentors, I think of Professor Howard Eichenbaum and Alyssa Koff, whose enthusiasm and energy for neuroscience had a profound effect on me. I am a neuroscientist. But it was also a gift to study art history, African American literature, and other subjects that stimulated my curiosity and helped me to become a well-rounded scholar. It was uniquely joyful and liberating to study the liberal arts at Wellesley. I earned graduate degrees in science from UC Berkeley and Johns Hopkins. When I was at Hopkins, I noticed something. There were virtually no women faculty members in science. And I would ask my classmates if they noticed. They would respond, I really hadn't noticed. That's what my undergraduate science faculty looked like too. Coming from Wellesley, I found a highly male-dominated professorate both unfortunate and unacceptable. Since that time, I have actively advocated for women and people of color in academia as a major focus of my career. In 1991, when I returned to Wellesley as a faculty member, I had some big shoes to fill, those of my undergraduate mentor, Professor Eichenbaum. I had the privilege of teaching amazing students, many of whom were smarter than I was. For 19 years, we had a rockin' neuroscience lab focused on mouse behavior, yeah, you're there, behavioral neuropharmacology, and we proved just how successful girls at a girls' school could be at solving vexing neuroscience challenges collaboratively. Later, as a budding academic administrator, one of my greatest influences was then President Diana Chapman Walsh, who was a wise and intentional leader and a role model for me. She built a strong, coordinated leadership team. As an associate dean, I had the privilege of being on her senior team, which was one of the finest academic teams I had ever seen. Well, that was until I formed my own team at Trinity College, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Diana Walsh taught me the value of quiet strength, of soft power, diplomacy, and tact. She taught me that persuasion and influence are more powerful than the volume of one's voice. My fellow deans, Andy Shannon and Adele Wolfson, and I were part of a dynamic trio that led Wellesley with love. This is another gift from Wellesley that has proven key in my career. I learned a leadership style focused on how to empower and motivate others to bring about the change we wish to see. Fast forward, this is my final year as president of Trinity College, the liberal arts college in the heart of Hartford that I have led for 11 years. I can easily say that my 50-year relationship with Wellesley has made me the leader that I am today. It is a gift that I hope that I have already passed on to future generations of scholars and leaders. And for the gifts of belonging, my love of learning, and an appreciation of the responsibility of leadership, I am truly grateful to everyone who touched my life through Wellesley. It makes this recognition by Mother Wellesley even more special to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Amy Weaver, class of 1989, my classmate. There's a lot of us in here. Amy's a Fortune 500 business innovator, known for leading with kindness, a committed advocate for empowering women in industry, and a forceful proponent for women's rights everywhere. When Amy became Chief Financial Officer of Salesforce in 2020, she was one of only about 65 female CFOs of major companies. She had been promoted to the top spot after serving as president in 2017 and then as Chief Legal Officer in 2020, where she built the cloud-based software company's global legal and corporate affairs organizations. In her time at Salesforce as CFO, Amy led the company's investments in artificial intelligence integration across all of its products, while staying focused on maintaining efficiency and keeping an eye on the future. The results speak for themselves. In fiscal year 2024, Salesforce boasted revenue of $34.9 billion, up 11% year over year, and her leadership helped Salesforce move up 50 spots in the Fortune 500 to 137. Her distinguished career had its start first at Wellesley, followed by Harvard Law School, and then a clerkship for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. She then moved across the world to Hong Kong to work for a member of the Legislative Council as part of the Luce Scholars Program, a nationally competitive fellowship that offers early career leaders immersive professional experiences in Asia. In her career, she also served as Senior Vice President and Deputy General Counsel at Expedia, Executive Vice President and General Counsel of Univar Solutions before joining Salesforce. Her honors include the Anti-Defamation League's Distinguished Jurisprudence Award, being named to the Financial Times' Global General Counsel 25 list, and as one of Business Inquirer's top 10 global CFOs. After Wellesley showed her the power of a strong network, Amy has spent her life standing up for women, from mentoring women in their careers to hosting dinners for women at the World Economic Forum. She is also outspoken on women's rights at home and globally as sponsor of the Salesforce Women's Network and a part of the UN Women's Generation Equality Movement. Through it all, Amy has earned a reputation for leaning into kindness. In her words, we need to insist on better behavior, kindness, and civility. Recently, on the heels of her successes, Amy announced she would step down from the CFO position once a successor was in place, once again demonstrating her commitment to the success of others. Amy and Paula, please join me at the podium. Amy, for your focus on excellence and impact, for challenging the norms of business and treating others with respect, for opening doors and expanding the concept of what a leader can and should be, Wellesley honors you.
Hello, Wellesley. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for that very generous introduction. And President Johnson, the Alumni Association Nomination and Selection Committee, thank you for this incredible honor. It is truly a humbling experience to be here with Claire and Joanne and to be among the extraordinary group of women who have received this award in past years. Thank you to the students, faculty, administration, and alumni for being here today. And I have to say a special thank you to the members of the Great Green Class of 1989 who are joining both here and online. It means so much to me to have you here. So as I prepared to come back to campus today, I've been reflecting on Wellesley, why I came here and what it's meant to me. At 18, there were so many reasons I chose Wellesley. I was drawn to the exceptional academic experience, the proximity to Boston, and of course, the country's most beautiful campus. I thought I would spend 4 years here and move on. I had no idea that I was, in fact, beginning a relationship with a community that would last my entire life. Those 4 years, of course, were wonderful. I made incredible new friends, even though my first year I had a miserable case of mono. I joined all of the activities I could find. I was on the Student Trustee Council, I served as an RA in Bates, and as a residential rep in Tower Court. I took hundreds of walks around Lake Waban, and with my own family 3,000 miles away in Washington State, I was grateful for weekend trips home with friends throughout the Northeast. I acted in the junior class play right here on the stage, which was directed by my first-year roommate, and looked forward to every April when we would line the streets near Munger to cheer for the marathon runners on Patriots' Day. And by failing to complete a single PE class during my first 3 years, I was forced to spend all of my senior year cramming in classes: tennis, yoga, and weight training twice. So during my time here at Wellesley, I was also very inspired by the women who came before me. And in my senior year, I was the features editor of the Wellesley News. And I was actually assigned to interview and write profiles of two of the Alumni Achievement Award winners. Elizabeth Barlow Rogers, class of 1957, and Alicia Haydock Manel, class of 1964. Both left lasting impressions on me, as did the third winner that year, Diane Silvers Ravitch, class of 1960, who I reluctantly agreed to allow another reporter to cover. While preparing to interview Elizabeth, who founded and led New York City's renowned Central Park Conservancy, I noticed that she had had an unusual variety of short jobs during her first few years outside of Wellesley, even including, if I remember correctly, a stint with the Wild Wild World of Animals television show. And I asked her about this during our interview in Cafe Hoop, which was then in the basement of Schneider Hall. Now, this was before Starbucks had become ubiquitous, and I remember thinking it was kind of cool and edgy to have the interviews there. Elizabeth told me that at the time, she did feel a bit like she was bouncing around, that none of those early jobs seemed related. But later, when she reached the pinnacle of her career and looked back, she said she felt like she had climbed in a straight line. What felt like bouncing around had actually given her the opportunity to constantly learn and collect new experiences, and they wound up being building blocks. And at that moment, in that basement coffee shop, just as I was wrapping up my own 4 years at Wellesley, I couldn't have imagined how many times I would return to Elizabeth's wisdom, or how many times the Wellesley community would lift me up throughout my own career. After Wellesley, I attended law school and thought I would spend the rest of my life as an attorney with a law firm in Seattle. This was an obvious choice. There were more than a dozen lawyers in my extended family in Washington State, including my father, who worked for the same firm for 55 years. Well, I managed this long-held life plan for all of 3 years, and even that came after a 6-year detour to live in Hong Kong and work throughout Asia. So what happened? First, I made the decision to go in-house, a choice my family teased me about relentlessly, as I was the only lawyer in our family to ever take that route. And after a few other twists and turns in my own non-linear path, I joined Salesforce, eventually becoming president and chief legal officer. Throughout all of these experiences, Elizabeth Rogers' comments stayed with me. And when I look back at the most pivotal moves in my own career, not one has been a promotion, a direct route, or even necessarily what felt like a logical step. Each move was either a lateral move to a new field or location, or sometimes even a step backwards in order to create a greater runway. And now, as I too look back, it feels like I was climbing in a straight line. But the biggest leap of my professional life came 4 years ago, when I was asked by our CEO to consider serving as Salesforce's president and chief financial officer. This isn't just an unusual move. Within the Fortune 500, no executive has ever moved directly from the top legal role to the top financial role, to positions requiring fundamentally different expertise. I'm saying this not to boast, but to emphasize that this was uniquely unlikely and also absolutely terrifying. I was being asked to step into the executive role of a publicly traded global company with all the risks that come with it and none of the traditional training. Every instinct told me to say no. It was too unprecedented, too risky, too hard, and any failure would be far too public. But then I thought of another passion for my career, mentoring other women. I always had encouraged them to lean in, to embrace risk, not to shy away from potential failures. Advice I suddenly found was much easier to give than to follow. And I even thought about possibly coming back to Wellesley to talk to students one day. I never wanted to have to tell you, or any of the women I had mentored, that I had turned down the greatest opportunity of my career simply because I was afraid. I also remembered what Wellesley had taught me. Wellesley did not train me to be a lawyer or an accountant or, frankly, anything else. Wellesley did something more important. Wellesley taught me how to think, how to look critically at an issue, how to break down problems to the most basic level, how to organize and present my thoughts. With apologies to Robert Parlberg, one of my favorite poli-sci professors, I remember very few details of the treaties and trade policies he covered. But I do remember how he pushed me to articulate my positions, stand my ground on controversial points, and question my sources. With apologies to my sister, Mary Weaver Chapin, class of '92, who holds a doctorate in art history, I can name almost none of the artwork from Art 100. But I remember what I learned about paying attention to the smallest details, about challenging myself in a new field, and especially the value of taking certain classes pass-fail. In the end, it was the skills from my Wellesley education that gave me the confidence to make the leap. So I took the job, I plunged into the role of CFO, I focused on my new world of building relationships with Wall Street and investors and preparing for my first earnings call. My first few months were nerve-wracking and very, very intense with an exceedingly steep learning curve. However, I was lifted up daily by support from employees around the globe. Overwhelmingly, this support came from women, including many I had never met. Now, we have all heard the common expression that behind every successful man, there is a strong woman. Well, I prefer the congratulations card a colleague sent me that read, "Behind every successful woman, there is a tribe of other successful women who have her back." And I would tweak that expression even further. Behind every Wellesley woman, there are 35,000 Wellesley alumni who will be supporting her throughout her entire life. This support from women, and particularly from Wellesley women, has played out for me repeatedly throughout my life and career. When I moved to Hong Kong, having never stepped foot in Asia, the Wellesley Club of Hong Kong welcomed me and created a cherished group of friends. Wellesley women were among the first I heard from when I was announced as CFO, including a text from Martha Goldberg Aronson, which arrived literally within seconds of the press release hitting the wires. And as I grew into the role, one of my staunchest allies in the Wall Street community was a Wellesley graduate, class of 2001. Again, someone I have never met in person. And there's the class of '89, which not only is showing up for me tonight, but we've supported each other through all of life's ups and downs. Career peaks and valleys, family joys and some challenges, and all of the moments in between. And most of all, when it comes to Wellesley supporters, the most important is my sister, Mary. It has been a special joy to be able to share a lifetime of Wellesley with Mary, who is always my closest friend. And today she is joined by my niece, Sadie Elizabeth, who is currently a senior in high school and applying to college. Just saying, Sadie. So yes, being back on campus, meeting with so many faculty and students, it brings back a flood of memories, including the day I arrived here as an 18-year-old, almost 4 decades ago. I was far from home. I had taken a red-eye flight by myself from Seattle, but seeing the gorgeous campus and meeting so many smart, funny students made me excited and hopeful about the next 4 years. I would love to go back and talk to that 18-year-old today, and to every young woman stepping onto this campus for the first time. This isn't just the start. of 4 years. This community will be with you, watching out for you, inspiring you, guiding you, and lifting you up every step of the way for the rest of your life. Thank you so much for this honor, and even more importantly, thank you for the honor of a lifetime to be part of this community of strong, resilient, inspirational, and fierce Wellesley women.
Thank you to these amazing, amazing women, to our recipients for your moving and really important words. You continue a tradition that for more than 55 years has brought this community great pride as we've marveled at and celebrated your tremendous gifts and service to our world. The impact you've had in your post-Wellesley lives is remarkable. You inspire us to bring the same energy and purpose to our own pursuits. So thank you again. It is just with a tremendous debt of gratitude that we give to you. And thank you to everyone.
Thank you for joining the Alumni Association in honoring these remarkable women. Thank you again to the Wellesley College Choir and conductor Lisa Graham for sharing all of your beautiful talents. And please join me in thanking our Alumni Association staff for organizing this wonderful ceremony. I'd like to now ask everyone to stand as the choir leads us in singing our alma mater. The lyrics can be found in your program, and we hope that you all will join us afterwards in the Alumni Hall ballroom downstairs for some light refreshments.
To all my